You're on with Career Talks, presented by the Sam Nunn School of International Affairs at Georgia Tech, a regular podcast featuring students, alumni, and friends of the school, offering advice to help you succeed in your career endeavors.
Welcome to Career Talks, a podcast service of the Academic Services Office of the Sam Nunn School of International Affairs. Today, we are talking with Sara Schmitt, a fourth-year International Affairs student. Sara is here to talk to us about her interest in the military and intelligence and how this led to her interning at the Air Force Institute of Technology and the Office of Arms Control Association, where she published 2 articles. Sara, do you mind if we start with introductions? Can you tell us more about yourself, including some background, information, and then how you ended up studying international affairs at Georgia Tech, and then some detail on what you have done in and out of the classroom these past 3 years?
Certainly. Thanks, Jessica. So I was born in Baltimore and moved around quite a bit growing up across the United States, but ended up graduating high school here in Georgia. And actually, I'll be completely honest with you, since I know this is the case for some of our incoming students. Georgia Tech was not my first choice for school, but just due to some different circumstances, this is where I ended up. And so my freshman year, I was like, okay, well, here I am. I better make the best of this. And I jumped right in, and I have loved every second of being here. It was absolutely the right place for me to end up. So I don't know, destiny, whatever. It's been great. So as far as international affairs go, I have always been interested in politics. When I was a kid, my mom had a copy of Time magazine. I used to look at the pictures, and I think it was like the bright colors or something that maybe got me interested. But I have always been interested in international politics. I think there's something about the complexity of states working together or not working together sometimes that is just really fascinating to me, and something I've always wanted to be a part of. As far as things I've done in and out of the classroom in the past few years, I guess out of the classroom, I've played on the club tennis team here at Tech for a few years. I was editor of photography for the Technique for about a year. That was a lot of fun. Let's see, what else? I've been on some advisory boards here within the Sam Nunn School. And things like that. I've loved living in and exploring Atlanta. Lots of great food. I'm a huge fan of Southern comfort food, so that's been fun. In the classroom, I guess, I've been doing research with Dr. Margaret Kosal for the past year and a half now. I'm working on my undergraduate thesis with her. And I've had some really cool internships. I've also interned at the Carter Center here in Atlanta. That was an amazing experience. And in D.C. at the Arms Control Association, and at the Air Force this summer in Ohio. So a little bit all over the place.
You've been keeping yourself busy.
Yes, very busy.
So how did you discover an interest in military and intelligence, and how did this lead to your internships at the Office of Arms Control Association and then at the Air Force Institute of Technology?
So again, military and intelligence was not my first plan. My mom always kind of was pushing me towards the intelligence field because I think she thought I would enjoy it. And as usual, my mom was right. I was actually started out more focused on human rights issues. I really wanted to work in the nonprofit sector. I wanted to work on the ground somewhere abroad. And then my sophomore year, I was applying for internships, and I was just sending out resumes to absolutely everywhere I could apply to because I knew I needed to be on the ground in DC to do the networking, because everyone I had talked to said that that was the very best place to do your networking, and you just had to be on the ground to meet people and shake hands, and that was the best way to break into that world. So I was just applying to anything I could in DC, and ended up at the Arms Control Association with their conventional arms division, and worked with my boss, and my focus that I've sort of been tailoring my classes to here is Middle Eastern affairs. And so my boss really let me run with that and focus on the Middle East and North Africa within our arms control work that we were doing. And so the things I was looking into within Congress and the arms sales that are the foreign military sales that get passed through Congress. So that was how I jumped into that field. And then through my summer and through the work and everything I learned there from my supervisor, who was just an amazing person, a great first supervisor, everything I learned there really made me passionate about arms control and foreign military sales. And then that sort of led to the undergraduate thesis I'm doing with Dr. Kosal now, which is on lethal autonomy and the proliferation of lethal autonomy between states. So think killer robots, I guess. It's sort of a strange phrase. And then from there, I met the people from the Air Force, actually from the National Air and Space Intelligence Center, at Career Fair last year. And that was where I was supposed to be this summer. And then some things ended up happening, and I ended up working at the Air Force Institute of Technology for the summer, which was an absolutely amazing experience. And I'm actually going back when I graduate.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I just signed my offer letter, so.
That's awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I think Stephanie had mentioned something that you found an internship at the fall career fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what she was mentioning, and I was like, oh, it doesn't look like NASIC to me.
No, yeah, it was kind of all over the place. But
well, congratulations. That's
Thank you.
exciting. So where did you end up finding these positions, and why did you decide to apply?
So I think I may have jumped the gun there on that question a little bit in the last question, but I think I found the Arms Control Association position in, honestly, I think I just did a Google search for international affairs internships in Washington, D.C. And I think I threw the word undergraduate in there because I kept almost applying to graduate programs as a sophomore. And so I threw that into Google and did several iterations of that search for weeks and weeks. I probably sent out 25 or 30 resumes, just getting in touch with people. And I think I heard back from 2.
So what was your typical day-to-day like, and what did you enjoy most?
So I think at the Arms Control Association, I had a lot of different responsibilities because my boss sort of wore a lot of different hats, and I was just sort of his shadow for the summer, which was an amazing experience because I learned so much and met so many cool people there. But my day-to-day experience at the Arms Control Association was going to briefings on the Hill. I spent a lot of time in Congress, actually, just sort of getting a feel for sort of what was going on and what was the public opinion on a lot of the issues we were following. We were following U.S. arms sales to Saudi Arabia at the time, because there's been an issue with Saudi Arabia misusing some of those U.S. weapons in Yemen. And so we were tracking that motion. There was a motion in Congress that was really historic, actually, to stop that sale. And it failed by like 2 votes, which is the closest Congress has ever come to failing to pass a foreign military sale, which is really cool to be a part of, even though we sort of lost in the end anyway. And then I was sort of taking the idea of what sort of public opinion was like within Congress, and then also attending briefings by other think tanks in the area just to see what other experts were sort of saying. There was some social media work involved, and then some writing. I maintained some websites, so got some new experience in that. Wasn't anything I'd ever done before. And then a little bit of writing for the Arms Control's publication.
How did your internship with the Arms Control lead to the 2 publications that you wrote for them?
So that was actually something that happened much later in the summer. I didn't walk in the door and get handed the opportunity to publish 2 articles, which was just so cool. It was a lot of work in the beginning and a lot of learning. I had a really steep learning curve because arms control and foreign military sales wasn't really I had any experience with. And so my supervisor just gave me articles on articles on articles to read. And it was a really steep learning curve the first couple weeks. But then once I sort of, I guess, proved that I had an okay grasp of the topics that we were dealing with, there were some topics that came up. So the Arms Control Association handles mostly nuclear nonproliferation, and they've been really involved in a lot of the push for nonproliferation across the world. But they have a conventional weapons division called the Forum on the Arms Trade, and that is where I did most of my work for the summer in the forum. And so when the Arms Control Association's publication wants to do articles on conventional weapons, they turned to my supervisor, and my supervisor handed some things off to me, which was really cool. So I got to get published twice that summer.
That's awesome. So I'm done with my questions. Do you have anything else to add?
I think that's about it. I guess any advice as far as career goes is just put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to get rejected. I have been plenty of times and still ended up with some very, very cool internships. So go for it.
That's really good advice. So thank you for talking to us today about your internships and your articles that you published. We hope that our audience found this interview as intriguing as I did. So let's hope it leads to internships in the military and intelligence field.
This has been Career Talks, a podcast of the Sam Nunn School of International Affairs at Georgia Tech, brought to you by the Nunn School Academic Services. This and other podcasts can be found on our website at www.inta.gatech.edu. Thank you for listening.